What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for episode 26 of Guardians franchise. We're here in early July, and things are still going pretty well. It's been about a month of game time. I think I left you right around June 1st last time, and, not too much on the negative front to report when you go 17-9 in June. 2-2 so far here in July, nothing to get too hung up about. Got a few things to go through here on our outline, but then I think we can get into this series at Baltimore and then into the draft a bit. First things first, one of our offseason acquisitions, we picked up, and he got hurt quickly, Andrew Painter. So he finally returned. He's now been up for 5 starts. He got absolutely housed in his first outing, so he's still kind of working that one off. Not that every single one has been good since then, but it's been 3 good, 1 bad since then. So you got the mega dud, a regular dud, 2 really good ones, and then like a decent start. So a mixed bag, but it's a 7.12 ERA because when you've only got 5 starts and one of them is 8 earned in an inning and a third, you're working that off for your next 10 starts. If you want to know how that works, go look at Bailey Ober's season this year. Like, actually, that's kind of the perfect example. And if I'm being honest, I just thought of that off the dome. But no, it is quite literally the exact same thing. He gave up 8 in an inning and a third at KC to start the season. And then as recently as his 13th start, his ERA had spiked. It was still at over 5. I shouldn't say still because it had gotten below and then went back up. But the bottom line was he had such little wiggle room that he was working that off forever. In fact, KC again put another bad start on him on May 29th, which he had gotten the ERA down to 4.33, which again still doesn't jump out as amazing, but was decent. They clapped him again for 6 earned in 5 runs, pushed it back up to 4.89. Like I said, it trickled up to 5. It is now down to 4.04, but that is 19 starts in. And if you look at Bailey Ober and you just take off that first start, it's a 3.41 ERA in 106 innings. So my bottom line there, and exploring all of that with Bailey Ober, is that that's basically what Andrew Painter is going to face. So we're not going to judge him from a composite ERA standpoint, really at any juncture this year. But we can still look at the underlying things like the skills and the whip and get an idea of where we're at. And it's still not that good. So while the Bailey Ober links are there from the bad first start, he's not out of the woods into a complete, emergence from it the way Ober has, I guess unless he faces KC again, because they've literally given him his worst 2 starts. I explored some Raylo deals, y'all, and I got kind of close on it, and I still wonder if maybe I should. I'm just having a really difficult time getting away from these wonderful skills, and an 18% strikeout minus walk is so good. 24% Ks, 6% walk, like, that's amazing. That should be working. But a 3.23 BABIP and just a 51% left on base rate. And there's really nothing in the profile here or nothing that we can do in game or even, I don't know how much you can really do in real life to fix that problem. It is clearly a problem with runners on. There are things you can do in real life, I guess, in terms of altering mechanics to try to figure out if you can pitch better from the stretch, things like that. But in game, we certainly have nothing. We just have to kind of trust the track record and hope that he kind of gets back on track to where an 18% strikeout minus walk rate would normally put you. But I did explore deals, and I actually ended up trading for some of the players that I had researched just for a different reliever, and we'll get to that in a moment. But I do have I almost said playlist. I have a short list here of the guys that were available. In fact, it looks like some of them, okay, no, that I was going to say it was a big list, but that was pitchers only to start. So here they are. These guys were all available in the first run through that I did of shopping Raylo, and I kind of went through and highlighted a bunch that I liked to shortlist and then scout. And now I would kind of parse through them a bit more and maybe get rid of some of the 40s, because everyone that I put on, I think, was at least a 45 to start. So after the scouting, you see a bunch here have dropped to 40. Or actually, some of them, in fairness, some of them were secondary pieces too, where I was like, oh, I could get 2 of these guys. So I don't think they were all 45s when they hit the list. But you can see, like, it's a big list. There's 29 players, so I'm not expecting y'all to interpret the entire thing. Just look at it and go, oh my God, here's all the best players. But there's some talent here. I guess the real first question is, should we really trade Raylo? Should we move on Just get a different arm, kind of reset, because he went through the same struggles last year. Now, it wasn't a 51% left on base rate, but it was 62, which is still bad. League average, for those unaware, is about 72% for left on base rate. You're generally going to be in that low 70s range. And, some guys are excellent with runners on, and so they run upper 70s ranges consistently. And, of course, in a given year, you can even run something in the 80s. I think even some relievers, because their seasons are so small, you might see sometimes like 90% left on base rates, where they don't allow anybody on, and then the few guys that they do don't score. But you'll see very few 80s in the starters realm. In fact, last year, among qualified starters, which means you had at least 162 innings, Blake Snell, 87%. That makes sense, right? He walked all those guys and then would strike out the next two guys to make sure they didn't score. Garrett Cole at 80%. Again, also makes sense. He had a great season and cut his home run rate, because that's a quick way to tank your left on base rate, is you allow two guys on, boom, 3-run homer. Well, there goes that. And then Kodai Senga was the other guy at 80% as well. So Cole, Senga, and Snell were the only three guys at 80% last year. And so you can tell, like, that's difficult. Now, at the low end, 56% for Jordan Lyles for a starter. Like, that's crazy low. In fact, he was 10 points lower than the next qualified guy, which was Aaron Nola. Now, I'm giving starter numbers. We should probably look more in the reliever realm. Now, in a full season last year, there were 5 guys under 60% that were qualified relievers. Now, to be a qualified reliever, I'm actually not sure what you need, because to be a qualified starter, you need at least 162 innings. To be a qualified reliever, it looks like it's around 48 2/3 is the lowest guy that they list as a qualified reliever. So I don't know if 45 is the cutoff, whatever it is. These guys all have about 50 innings. The lowest left on base rate, 5 guys were under 60, but the lowest was 55. So even for the worst, our boy Raylo here is really operating at a really extreme level, which leads me to believe that it should regress, even if it regresses back to the 62 of last year. So I know that was a really long explanation and almost like a lecture on stats, which I hope it never really comes across as like talking down or patronizing or anything. Just trying to help with some of the concepts, because I throw around some of the shorthands sometimes, and I don't want to assume everyone knows what the baselines are. Because if you don't know what left on base rate is that much, you might be unaffected by 51%. But with that context, now you know 51% is crazy. So I'm still laboring. As I mentioned when I picked up Raylo, he's a favorite player of mine. And that plays a little bit, right? We've talked about that. I kept Gabriel Arias around for that. Like, I let that play into the game because I'm trying to have fun, right? And there's certain players I like. I want to see them do well for us in our little virtual world. So that plays a role. But I want to win, right? And I don't want Raylo to be some big problem for us in the playoffs. Or become somebody that I can't trust. That's even worse. That's almost worse than having a rough appearance. I know this sounds crazy, but because sometimes guys are going to have tough outings in the playoffs, right? Even Emmanuel Clase, our closer, could. We see it with real life guys. The guys you trust end up coming up a bit short because, hey, the other team's trying too. But it would actually be worse for me if we couldn't trust Raylo, so we're always tentative to put him in, than if we just had the confidence and he happened to have a tough October. So anyway, this, as you can tell, as I kind of talk myself around in circles, I don't really know what to do. I think I'm going to set like kind of a weird arbitrary litmus test here that is neither a large enough sample, nor will it even necessarily work because he's actually kind of tired right now. I was going to say, if he can get through a couple appearances against Baltimore without getting hammered, maybe we'll keep him. But he's at 45% right now with these 3 games. He might pitch in the last one. So that would have been a stupid litmus test anyway. But I'm just trying to figure out something that kind of pushes me. What I should do first and foremost is get him off use more often. I don't know if pitching his way through it is necessarily, like just voluming his way through it. Although I do kind of think that there is some merit to that. But let's go ahead and put him on normal. I think I'm going to hold him through the draft here and get into the second half of July before I make a decision. The tough part is with these players, like who really sticks out. Now, one of the problems that I had was I kept adding so many players that I was like, well, now you're really getting into a difficulty of separating them. At a point, I'm wondering if maybe I just need to go position by position and kind of see what we have. We only have the one catcher. Okay, so if we had any catching interest, it would come down to Jesus Galiz. Then at first base, you got some guys, but only one of them has a 60 power. And frankly, the others are positional eligible elsewhere. The one true first baseman, meaning that's his primary position, is Trey Morgan, a player I love in real life, but he just doesn't have a first base profile. He has 40 power and 40 I with no upside for either. That's just going to be really tough. Even Eric Hosmer, I think, was closer to 45, 50 power. Although maybe not. But either way, like that's kind of what we're looking at here, and you need more. There is a left field potential, and there is high work ethic from Trey Morgan, so maybe you could milk a little extra out of the profile, but I don't know. I can't really get there with him. Morabel has some good range there. That's for outfield though. So let's go infielders. Sort by range here. See, you got some guys, got a lot of green ranges, and then the two guys that don't have it are Trey Morgan and Dusty Bierce. This guy is a young prospect, but high work ethic, 18 years old, from the Yankees, 7th rounder in 2026. So that was just last year. It could be a little something there. He's a long way from developing. I do kind of want something a bit closer, but I just put intriguing names on the list. If they looked like they could be something, I threw them on there. Then you go to the outfield. Again, you see a bunch of green range factors there. I want these guys that can play some real defense out there. Devin Obi strikes out too much, but I did like the power BABIP and outfield range combo of him. I do remember looking him up. Mike Sirota had good defense. That was really the only reason that he got on there. So again, there's a ton of names. I am left a little meandering on it because I just don't really know what I want to do. I don't know that I added... Oh, I see what I did. Because when you have this asterisk here, it means you changed this view. And I was like, what did I change? But I changed the org. I added the org on this. So I will remove that. I don't need that. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward. I'm not going to make a decision on it now, and I do have a couple trades to catch y'all up on. But first, on June 7th, we started scrapping, y'all. Josiah Gray and our boy Namgung, they got in a brawl. There was a fracas. There was a Donnybrook. Shit got wild. Was it Josiah Gray? Yeah, here's Josiah Gray. And there you go. Sukyoung Namgung and Josiah Gray were ejected in the 7th for igniting a bench-clearing brawl. I know that happens with enough regularity that it's not like crazy, but I like that flavor that is added in. I don't want like a ton of violence. I don't want, guys getting suspended all the time for fighting each other, but it is a part of baseball, and I'm glad that the game has it in there, even though it is a little bit of an unsavory part. Guys should not be hucking baseballs at each other for their fifis getting hurt because you hit a home run off me. I've said it before and I'll say it again. That is the most bitch-made thing about Bob Gibson. There's so much cool stuff about him. I hate that we promote that as if it was cool. It was not cool, dude. So every time somebody did well against you, you chucked a baseball at them. Get them out, idiot. But anyway, after that, by the way, we swept them, which was nice. I did like that. We got in a fight, and then we routed them. So that was good. Because don't forget, y'all, Boston came into the season with expectation. They are back, I shouldn't say back over 500. I don't think they were under. But they were a little lower earlier on in the year. They're 44-38. They're there. But you know what? And we're going to get into the standings in a moment. Actually, I can do it right now. Because the next thing is going to be the new topic, the next trade. But if you look at these standings, yes, we're at the top, but the Yankees and Tigers are the two behind us, not the Orioles and Red Sox. They're both a bit out. Now, they're both in, actually, the Red Sox are not in the playoff hunt right now. Well, wrong word. They are not in the playoffs currently. They are very much in the playoff hunt. Learn how to talk, Paul. If only I talked for a living, right? If I had any component of my job that involved talking, then maybe there could be an expectation for me to be better at it. But all I am is a podcaster, streamer, and writer. Words are not really part of my job, obviously. But I am a little bit surprised by this. And there is a world right now where one of the Orioles or Red Sox don't make the playoffs, which would be crazy because, again, that's what we're chasing. We're chasing the Orioles. We still respect them at the tip top. But the projections were all about the Red Sox here. And so they're underwhelming a bit. And, I'm not trying to overrate the projections. They're a fun little talking point. I'm just a little surprised that Boston is falling a little under expectation. All right, so we did get into some trades. And I purposefully mentioned a guy earlier with regards to Raylo and trading him as a personal Sporer favorite. And I said, kept Gabriel Arias around until I just couldn't. And that time finally came, y'all. Gabriel Arias had to get traded. We kept him around. He got a bit better with the scouting report in March, and he got all 50s. So I'm like, okay, here we go. He's just flat 50s down the line with great defense. This can be a quality 2 to 3 win type backup. Or pacing for a 2 to 3 WAR. I didn't expect him to get enough playing time to be putting up 2 or 3 WAR, but to be that sort of guy where he's just solid. Maybe like a 90-ish WRC plus with amazing defense. That's a super sub right there. And it just wasn't coming together. 58 plate appearances is nothing. I fully grant that. But it was a minus 56 WRC plus, y'all. Nothing was going for him. It's coming off of 2 bad years in a row, too. In isolation, I would not make a move off of this sample. Paired with the last 2 seasons of very underwhelming bat, I recognize that even regression to the mean for Gabriel Arias, back up toward the levels that he's exhibited recently, is still a remarkably bad player. So we had to move on. Unsurprisingly, there just wasn't much out there, and I wanted to find somebody that we didn't have to put on the 40, or on the Major League roster. This guy might be on the 40, I can't remember. But we got a catcher. His name is Edson Duran. And yes, he is on the 40. Okay, so it was not a 40 move. It was just Arias had to go. It was somebody I could put in the minors, which Duran is. He's in AAA, and he's actually playing very well this year. He's great with LA. He's been pretty good still with us. He actually got a little taste of the majors last year and did well. He doesn't really bring the kind of catcher glove that I would want, but it's not a bad bat. 24 years old, so I thought this was a pretty solid deal. I was happy to do that. So we got that deal done. There's a little funny thing, just because it's a rare thing that you don't see much, but our boy Lonnie White Jr. got gout, which was kind of funny. I shouldn't say it's funny. I really don't know the seriousness of gout. It's just a funny word. And then I learned it was like a disease when I was a kid. And then we went to school with a guy whose last name was Gout, spelled the same. And then he got gout. I'm not kidding. Can't make this stuff up. He was an athlete. I think it is something that athletes are more susceptible to on their feet, ? I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but I don't want to say his first name because I don't need to dox my childhood classmate there. But when Gout got gout, I forever remember what gout is. And but actually, no, I don't. I remember that it's a disease, but nothing about what it does. Anyway, Lonnie White Jr. got it. He had it for like 3 days, and he's fine. So it can't be that bad, right? Wilfredo Antunes had a June swoon, and it was rough, y'all, to the point where I'm like, should he still be up? I don't know. Kind of a solid average type guy in April and May, but then a 14 WRC plus in June. Again, 56 plate appearances. Let's be kind on not overrating a small sample, but my goodness. Now, the reason that I didn't just move on from him and say, okay, he sucks now, is because 139 BABIP is painfully unlucky, and his plate skills were actually still fine. 21% strikeout rate, 13% walk rate. I got no problems with that. But I just wanted to point it out that he is playing less because of it, and he is on Snowflake right now. I actually brought up Stanley Consuegra as a way to kind of take some pressure off of Antunes, because we were running 13-13, and I decided that when we moved somebody that I'm going to get to in a second, we moved a pitcher, that spot would be replaced by a fielder, and it was Stanley Consuegra. But let's get into that. That's actually the next thing on the list, and that is our Cade Smith deal. So when I was looking at all these Raylo situations, like you saw, I got that big list of players, and there were some players I was interested in, and I got close to pulling a deal with the Mets where they would get Raylo. But at the last second, I was like, what if Cade Smith goes into this? Okay, so I did the 1-for-1 move there. That was not enough. I then had to rework. They definitely liked Raylo more than Cade Smith, which is fair, because I think Raylo is better, and the game probably recognizes that his skills have been strong despite the poor ERAs, and that he is somebody, worth buying. He's got talent. So I had to rework it a little bit. It ends up being kind of like one of those big quantity. And I wouldn't even say it's like quantity for quality. Like, we didn't get like studs or anything, but it was like a consolidation deal where we end up giving 5 to get 2. So let's go ahead and get into that with our Cade Smith deal to the Mets. And you can see there's still reasons to like him. First off, he's on the right side of 30, just turned 28 a couple months ago with 70 stuff. That right there is a foundation to get like a few more years in the league for Cade Smith, at the very least. Even if he was pitching horribly. But things really weren't going well for him with us. And I didn't have a ton of reasons to believe that it was going to regress all that much, because he had a 16% walk rate, and it was at 14% the year before, and he's a 45 control. So that's going to remain a part of his issue. He's going to have to work around the walks, which really puts a big burden on his BABIP, which was at 315 this year. Even at 197 last year, he still wasn't able to put up that much success with a just under 4 ERA. So it just looked like, with no progression in this control, that it was always going to be a problem. And guys have succeeded with that for years. Aroldis Chapman, Dylan Betances, right? Like many others. But it's super volatile in nature. And I just didn't want to deal with it. Because again, I am thinking a little bit more October than I am present day when we're going through the regular season right now. Because while nothing's guaranteed for the playoffs, we're sitting beautifully. 55-28. Like, what an epic collapse it would be for us to not make the playoffs. So you start thinking about October, and it gets back to that situation I was talking about with Raylo. Am I going to be confident in never using Cade Smith? Am I ever going to bring him in a high leverage situation and be like, okay, this is our guy? Not if, the bases are loaded, because he's going to walk in a run. So anyway, he had to go, also out of options, as you could guess. And that's why a trade had to come to fruition. And here's what we did. So we moved him. We moved Cade Smith along with, I'm trying to go in order of the quality here. I think Luis Moreno was the next best guy, 19-year-old that we signed on a minor league deal with a little upside to the top end of his profile, the BABIP, avoid K, and gap. Not really much of a power guy. Huge arm in a corner outfield spot. So, an okay outfielder. He's 19 years old. There's something there to build on, and he's already durable. So there you go. Not a bad player there with Luis Moreno. And then Jacob Parker. Yeah, Jacob Parker's probably the next guy. Actually, you can maybe go the other way where you like Parker a little bit more than Moreno, but they're kind of the next two guys. 60 power potential for a 20-year-old, but low work ethic. And that was kind of the clincher there. Like, okay, I can move on from you because while you do have some upside, you can play the outfield spots and third base. You could be like a power-only type platoon guy. I just wasn't thinking that we needed to keep him around. I thought that what we got, which you'll see in a moment, was definitely better and worth taking. So then we go from there to David Leon, who has a nice eye and a pretty decent catching glove, but that's it. These next two, like Leon and the last guy, are throw-ins just to get the job done. Dylan Pena, Daylan. Is that Dylan? Is it maybe just Dylan where the A is just extra there? I don't know. But either way, this was pure throw-in. I mean, he has 70 avoid K. That is the only positive on the profile here. He's whatever. Okay, that got the job done. That was the last piece to go in. And what did we get in return? We got Wilfred Veras, who has 60 gap, 60 power with 60 arm. Decent base runner too. Like those are the qualities. He's a 24-year-old outfield who bats from the right side. So he could be a lefty killer for us, a lefty feaster, if you will. So I liked him. And then Jordy Vargas. Just a decent pitcher, right? Green all over the place with 50s down the board. 60 fastball and curveball. He is hurt. So we picked him up as a quote-unquote distressed asset there. I don't think it lowered his price because it wasn't a major amount of time left. It's only been a couple weeks. Like, he only has a week left, and we've only had him for a little bit. But, there's upside here. I'm actually kind of surprised he's only a 40. Now, I've lamented that I don't quite understand the overalls that much this year at times where they just, I can't quite get there. And I feel like, is this not at least a 45? But whatever. He's 23. We got him in Double A, and I like Jordy Vargas. So a couple like decent organizational pieces that can definitely play Major League Baseball here in the near future. For Cade Smith, Luis Moreno, Jacob Parker, and some throw-ins. So again, a consolidation deal, if you will. The latest midseason goals review, team record. He's loving that, obviously. Needed an upgrade at center. And we got the Lonnie White. That's now locked. I think that should be off the board soon, right? Yeah, that's this year. So we're going to get credit for that. We should reach the playoffs. So we're going to hit our 2 for this year. And then we're still a few years away from building a top 6 minor league system, which right now, I mean, that's not our top focus. I am from the Dombrowski school of GMing, right? I watched him take care of my Tigers and bring us into a winning window by leveraging the farm system to make the major league team better. And sometimes that means bringing the guys up, of course, and playing them. Yes, obviously. But a lot of times it means going out and getting more proven major league talent with those prospects. And we have not been afraid to do that. We won't be afraid to do it here in this competing window. That said, I obviously want to have a good system at the same time. The latest report came in. It says 27th here, but I think it was 26th on this list. So I don't know why the discrepancy there, especially when it just pulled a new one. And we are indeed... Okay, actually, you know what? All 3 of these teams are 19 points. So I think it's acceptable if we're listed 27, 28, or 26, 27, or 28 on our little list over here. Okay, that's fine. I won't quibble over that. And then fan interest is for 2029, and we're red on that right now. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm sorry. I only have a 564 win percentage with back-to-back ALCS losses the last 2 years. Oh, that's all I'm doing. Whoops. Got my hand caught on my headphone cable there like a goofus. But anyway, so we're doing well with him. I don't think we're in any sort of danger. If he's crying and carrying on about the farm system, it's like, okay, well, we're trying to put a World Series banner up. Deal with it. So that brings us current. And we do have a series in Baltimore that I thought would be fun to kind of sim through together. We had to scrounge to get a split with Charlotte. That little twerp. Took the first 2 games from us, but then we went 4-2, and then a thriller, 11-10 in 12. What a game this was. The up and down nature of this one with Bieber and Luna. Who's Luna? Carlos Luna? Carlos Luna, control artist for them, Rule 5 pick from the Giants. Okay. He's not doing that well. Is he at least not walking guys? Okay, he is at least doing the thing that he was advertised to be able to do well, which is not walking guys. Okay, good for him. But anyway, Baltimore, again, to catch you up, 47-35. It's not like they're playing poorly, but this is a powerhouse team, and maybe they're just lying in wait. Maybe it's one of those things where it's like, hey, we don't have to get too hopped up on the regular season. We did a $109 last year. We flexed our regular season muscles last year. Now we're about qualifying, and we'll figure it out. Maybe they push hard down the stretch to try to get the division, but they're not trying to exert a ton of energy in the front end of the schedule. And frankly, coming off 3 straight World Series, I get it. I respect it. But also, screw them. Let's smoke these losers. Actually, let's see how Manzo's doing first. Manzo, Kyle Manzardo, is down a little bit this year after 2 splendid seasons with Baltimore that have really, made that deal look wonderful for them. He's down to a 111 WRC plus with 13 homers. Still perfectly fine, but just a little down, and we'll see if that even holds. I'm not even certain that that's necessarily going to hold. It might just be a little bit of a lull that he's going to turn around. Then Gavin Williams is in the rotation. They've been ping-ponging him back and forth, man. They can't figure out what they want to do. But he is in the rotation, and he's been solid. 4.08 ERA, 123 whip. So that's not too bad at all. Meanwhile, from Kerstead, we are getting 2.5 WAR. He's having an amazing year. So he is going off. He already has as much WAR, 2.5, as he did all of last year in 140 games. And he's done that in 80 fewer games. And, of course, we also have Stowers, who is playing more of a part-time role and struggling quite a bit. So he had the big breakthrough in 2025, and I think I even said at the time that that's going to be his high water mark. Came down to 99 WRC plus last year with 24 homers, and this year it's down to 67, a negative 1.1 WAR with 13 homers. So First things first, he should never bat against lefties. I think that might be kind of where we're at this juncture with Kyle Stowers. And he might be on the cusp of actually losing some playing time if things don't get better. I'll let him go through the first 4 innings. But then if there's a lefty in the 5th, he's coming out. I think that's what we're going for. And then we're going to force bench against lefties. We're just trying to mitigate Stowers against any lefty opposition that he could see. And he already doesn't start. I just want to make sure. Just never face lefties. And frankly, just start coming out of the game as soon as you face one. Get Rocchio in there. Get Consuegra in. Actually, Consuegra. They really should be joined at the hip as a platoon. I wish that was something that you could do. In the strategy here, lock in platoon partner or something. And then you just select a player that when you pinch hit, that guy comes out. This is the guy that comes in if he's available. If Consuegra starts a game, okay, then they go to whoever's available. But when available, it should always be Consuegra going in for Stowers. Actually, anyway, moving on. The bottom line is they're winning that deal right now. And that's okay. That's all right. I still love that we got Kjerstad, and I don't feel bad about that deal. Because Manzo's just not a first base profile I generally trust. I want more pop. We lose 6-0 in the first game. Yikes. Tristan McKenzie only threw an inning and then got hurt. Yep. So then Funderburk and Enright pushed into early duty and both flopped. 3 runs apiece for them. Meanwhile, John Gray, 6 scoreless, turned it over to Cade Povich and then Luis Garcia. Is this Luis Garcia from the Astros? It is. He's in the bullpen now and doing all right for them. Okay. Let's get it back here in game 2. Let's at least get a rubber match. Come on. Give me some green. What do you say now? 15-9. Let's go. The bats route in full force for this one. Sonny Gray does give up 6 in 6. But, hey, at least he went 6. Realized I can't tax the bullpen again. And that's an ace, folks. Now, he didn't give up the runs earlier or anything. So it's not like he had to grind from that point forward. But he started to get a little wobbly with runs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 1 in the 6th. But he held tight, made it through 110 pitches, got 6 innings to make sure the bullpen didn't have to go crazy. Raylo did pitch 2 innings, but gave up 2 runs. And I wanted to see if maybe I had his hook too long, because I do tend to favor him, and with the high stamina, I thought maybe I did, but I don't. I've got it normal. I do not understand why he's so terrible. Just keeps giving up runs. I really think I'm going to end up making the deal because it's just not getting better. It's just not getting better. And we currently don't have anybody available to pitch. Clase and maybe Funderburk and Almon are available here. Bradish is no longer in the rotation. Let me move him back to RP. But he's still not available, so it doesn't matter. I think we might need to send somebody down for a bat, or for an arm, excuse me, and go 13-13 for this last game. I think Antunes has to get sent out just to get an arm here, because I want to win this game. It's not like the most important game on the slate, but I don't want to just give it to them. All right, so our 4 guys that are on the 40-man right now in the minors are Logan Allen, Jaime Arias, Tanner Bybee, and Andrew Misiaszek. And I put that there in the nickname just so I'd never forget it. But anyway, those are the 4 guys, and all 4 of them are pitching very well, ranging from 16 to 21% strikeout minus walk. That's all excellent numbers. Really can bring up any of them. It is going to be kind of a short-term call-up, so I kind of feel like it should just be one of the relievers, just because, keep the starters down there on routine, and it's not as big of a deal in this game because it's a video game, but I try to play like you would in real life, and I don't think you'd call up Bybee or Allen to possibly be available in the bullpen for a couple of days while the bullpen rejuvenates versus Arias or Misiaszek. So I think Misiaszek, he's going to get another shot here. He had 7 in the 3rd innings last year that went very poorly for him. Let's make sure, or let's see if we can hope that he doesn't have that sour note as his only major league career. All right, so we got him available now. That gives us at least 2 guys that are, really available. And then, like I said, Funderburk and Alamon, if they had to go, they have some availability. But who's starting? Okay, Painter, and he's only at 94%. That's kind of interesting. I do wonder, should we even get a different starter for today? No. Let's trust Painter. We were excited to pick him up. Let's see if he can get us a big win here. Game 3 in Baltimore is a win. 4-3-10. Let's go. What a game. All right, so we score in the top of the 10th. They score 2 in the second. We get it back in the 4th. They score immediately in the 5th, which we get back immediately in the top of the 6th. So there we are. We're knotted. 3 scoreless from the 7th through 9th, and then we get one in the 10th on a Namgung RBI single off of the Mountain, Felix Bautista, which they need to start promoting his nickname more. That is his nickname. He is the Mountain. Put it on BREF. Put it in the game. That's the nickname. We're going with it. Painter was strong. 6 innings, 3 runs. That's a baseline quality start. That is good. I hate the whole 4.50 ERA is good. Yeah, it kind of is. Not for fantasy necessarily for a full season, but for real life baseball, yeah, it is. And that's like the baseline for quality. Sorry, I'm fighting demons over here, shadowboxing ghosts, but I think that's such a bad pushback to the idea of a quality start. You're taking the lowest thing that it can be and be like, that's really cool. There has to be a cutoff somewhere. And as I always say, I say it so many times when I'm doing these sims. If you're down 3 after 6, and it's 3-0, you are in the game. It does not matter. So yes, that is inherently quality. Manzo goes yard, Santander goes yard, both their 15th of the year. Namgung hit a homer earlier in the game too, so he had a huge game. He goes 3 for 4 with the big. Well, wait. If he hit a run-scoring single, why wasn't it a ribby? Is it okay? So is the Ghost Runner also not an RBI? I know it's not an earned run, but it's not an RBI? I'm confused. Because it says there's 4 RBIs. Oh, that's a triple. That's a triple. That's not a homer. That's a triple. Jesus. Paul. All right. I was confused. My logic was correct, but my misreading was the problem. So it's still my fault in the end. But at least I wasn't completely out to lunch on that one. Oh, we still get Meckler emails because he was on our list of guys that we traded. Is he doing anything? He's in Durham, Tampa Bay's AAA. Remember, we got him in the Lamont Wade deal kind of as a secondary piece with a compelling bat, but nothing too special. We traded him over to Tampa Bay in the Johnny DeLuca and Mason Hour deal. Okay, I had forgotten that. So yeah, he's been knocking around with them, doing decently. I wonder if they'll bring him up. There's a world where this can be successful. It just wasn't what we needed. So good on him collecting a bunch of hits going 5 for 5 in the minors. All right, so the series against Baltimore, very nice there. We love to see that. We do have the draft coming up. Speaking of Tampa Bay, we've got a 3-gamer in Tampa Bay to finish out the first half here. And then we have the draft on the 11th. So let's go ahead and do that. Got some emails here. Mooney goes 5 for 5. Alex Mooney. Now that's one of our guys. There we go. And Delgado. Okay, everyone's getting 5 hits right now. Reynel Delgado gets 5 hits. Now, who the hell is this? Trois Riviere Aguiles? I don't know what that means. Or 3 Rivers something, but I don't know what Aguiles means. Obviously not pronouncing that terribly well, but I actually used to, I took a bunch of French, but I don't remember any of it. What the hell does that mean? It's a real team, by the way. But I'm looking it up. What does it mean? Eagle. Oh, okay. The 3 Rivers Eagles. Okay, cool. I'm sure I learned that at some point, that Eagle was AIGL. I probably should have been able to figure that out. But dumb brain, Brains be like that. They be forgetting things. All right, here we go. 3 in Tampa Bay. Game 1 goes to us. Game 2 goes to them. And the rubber match as we get to the draft. We won And now it's draft day. We win 7-5. Okay, let's take a look at the Friday night game. 8-3. That was Cantillo pitching well against Shane Boz, who we cooked. Consuegra with a couple homers. And that's not even his strong side there. He beats up lefties. And that's a righty there that he comes in. Now, he's still pretty good against righties. But he just gets a couple extra points against lefties there that make him the prototypical lefty feaster. You get one off Boz, one off Odorizzi. That's 2 righties, baby. Let's go. All right, then we lose game 2, 4-2. That's Bieber getting beat up a little bit, and Jeffrey Springs pitching very well. Kerstead hit his 18th. And then the 7-5 win to close it out is McKenzie pitching moderately. 5 2/3, 4 runs. Ugh, not that great. And then who's this? Jacob Lopez going 5 2/3, 1 run for them. But then Aaron Bummer living up to his name too well. That is tough. 6 earned without a single run, or without a single out. J-Ram hit his 13th. Royce Lewis hit his 8th. All right, so looking at where we're at here, we're not going to do the draft on this episode because that's a whole another long time. Let's look at the All-Stars here. First things first, we'll look at the All-Stars, and we see Sonny Gray makes it. Franco Alomar makes it. And Lonnie White Jr., Heston Kjerstad, so that's 4. By the way, I wish it would send you an email like highlighting yours. I know this is the email highlighting them. But because I'm an idiot and can very easily overlook things, I think there should also be a separate email that just sends you, here were your All-Stars. Just in case you're an old moron who might have overlooked one. Now, I think I got all of them. But, it wouldn't be a shock if there was like one that I overlooked at some point. No one would be like, oh, Paul overlooked that? Crazy. He never misses anything. And then the Futures Legends, we got our Future Stars game. We got Chris Mann. Okay. Our first round pick from 2026. Love that. And that one's it. We just got the one, which makes sense. We're not a super deep prospect system. We just get the one. So there we go. That's cool. Let's see if Mann did anything in that game. He went 0 for 2 with a walk. Okay, fine. So we got the All-Star game, and then I wanted to kind of just take a brief overview of the team to kind of wrap up the episode, since we haven't really done that, and we kind of are at the halfway point. I mean, it's always a little bit above that, given that we have played 89 games, but it is the All-Star break and the draft time. And so let's just do a war sort here, and we see our guy, Lonnie White Jr. Hey, we signed him to the big deal, and he says, thank you very much. I'm going to play even better. He's not going to be one of those guys, oh, I'm going to rest on my laurels just because I got paid. First off, it's not like he got paid the most money. He got a nice, healthy deal, $69 million. It's going to change anybody's life. But he still needs to be putting up big numbers, because then when he's a free agent at age 32 or 31, if he doesn't take our option, he's getting another decent bite at the apple if he's a true superstar. So I would never expect him to lag on us. He's got high work ethic, and he's been amazing. 3.4 WAR is already more than he had all of last year. Heston Kjerstad, 2.9. Call it 3 wins. I mean, that's in line with what he's done the last 2 years, but he's only done this in 66 games. He's only needed 66 games to do that. Did he get hurt earlier? Tender shoulder, 4 days. No. Why? That seems like a lot of games that he's not playing. Well, Antunes was here, but I don't think he was drawing that many starts. I'll put Consuegra here. I guess he doesn't start against left. Oh, no, he does. He does. I am surprised that Kjerstad only has 66 games. That feels light to me. Where does that rank on the team? Yeah, it's a bit lower than I would expect. And Stowers has the same amount. And Bailey has 56. Sorry, my mouse was covering it. I thought that was also 66. So yeah, that's curious. I don't really know what's going on there. I'll be keeping tabs on that because I don't want that to happen. He needs to be playing. But anyway, he's been amazing when he's been playing. So maybe it's a classic don't fix what ain't broken situation. Namgung, 2.2 WAR, looking great. Having a wonderful season. Brings the bat and the defense. Holding his own against righties while absolutely feasting against lefties. We love that. Royce Lewis, he's doing his thing. 2 WAR right now. There was some concern like, oh, you're using this guy as a short side platoon and you gave Khalil Watson for him, which was a fair call out. But no, we're using him as a full-timer. And Khalil Watson, for his part, playing well again too. We always thought this could be a win-win. We just liked where Royce Lewis was to help us more here in the moment. We do have Rocchio in that super util role, but he's been playing 71 games. He doesn't even have a starting spot against righties, and he has more games than Kerstead. I'm just, what was the injury again? It's 4 days, so that doesn't count for shit. Huh, that's very bizarre. Anyway, don't fixate on it. But Rocchio's been awesome, has 13 bombs in 71 games. Y'all, he hit 9 all of last year, right? He's already got a career high in homers. Like, he's making a good bid to play more, and you can see I've got him in every third game for Stowers, fourth for Lewis, fifth even for Ramirez. Just because, like, as Ramirez gets older, obviously he's still very good, and we want him to be playing plenty. Like, he's not having his best year right now, but that's not why I did that. I've been doing that all year. We just want him to stay healthy. And I'm not saying that benching him occasional game here and there is necessarily going to keep him healthier, but maybe just a little bit less wear and tear, and we have less risk of injury so that we don't have him in October. I'm going to do every 6th game, though, because what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start him over Stowers. I'm going to start Rocchio, but at DH feels like such a waste. Actually, no, it's not such a waste. His defense isn't that good. I'm thinking of Arias. No, this is actually fine. For what he's doing this year, he's kind of earned some extra DH burn because he's just been so good. But no, Lewis, Ramirez, and Jimenez are better defensively. Okay, so I'm fine with that. And then I'm going to put Stowers on every 4th game right now. I'm sorry, Stowers, but you got to take a step back a little bit. And you still got the first base backup, and you can get in, when Kersted's tired. I wonder if Kerstead, does he tire faster? Is there any way to see that? No, he's not fragile or anything. I don't know. I'm still stuck on it, y'all. I said not to obsess over it, but I'm gonna. And Namgung starting, or Consuelo gritting every 3rd game against righties for Namgung there. Just, why not? We have some depth. Let's flex it. So there you go. We've also got Bailey and Condon, 1.2 WAR apiece, 17 homers for Condon. We talked about this last year. His WAR totals aren't going to be off the charts necessarily because he plays first base / DH. And so, I mean, he's not DHing much this year, but he played some DH last year. But it's just harder. Your offense has to be sky high. And it was great last year. That's why he put up 4.5 wins. But it's 114 this year. He's kind of fine. He's not hurting us by any stretch, but also not carrying the team right now. I have zero concern. Condon still rules. Bailey, 1.2 WAR behind the dish. He's been brilliant. We love what he's doing. Bo Naylor, struggling again. Because I wanted to get him more burn against righties because Bailey is showing a pretty clear platoon split this year, albeit off of a tiny sample. But I think that fits his career too. Yeah, he's got an 84 WRC plus against righties for his career, 96 against lefties. That's not huge, but he is worse against righties. And I was like, okay, well, Naylor's a lefty. Get him more burn, but he's terrible. And I don't know if it's going to get better. So I've got every 4th game right now. I think I'm just going to leave that. By the way, I think with Rocchio starting at DH, I'm going to take off his every whatever games for Lewis. Lewis can just play there. I do love this, though. This is what you want. When you do a WAR sort, and I'm not talking about at any given moment, but deeper into the season maybe, like when you've got some time under your belt, like July 11th, let's say, for an example, and you do a sort by WAR, all of our best guys are the starters. Now, you'll get an occasional random spike of somebody that, in a short sample, he might crack into the top 8 or 9 there. But generally, this is what you want. Now, we would like our bench to be better. We don't want them all to be in negatives. But if you're going to have negatives, it should be in the bench guys. So, Consuegro, Willie Castro, Bo Naylor, and Kyle Stowers. Consuegro's been fine in his limited sample. The other three, not so much. Willie Castro's been up for just a brief moment. As you can see, 8 games, 19 plate appearances. He was Arias' replacement. So he's just kind of hanging out right now. If we find somebody better, I mean, we probably already could. Frankly, maybe Barrero deserves that shot because he's going off. Now, he's 29 years old, Jose Barrero. Plays strong defense. I don't believe in this bat. But there's also, it's only high scouting accuracy. I wonder, let's get it to very high. And I wonder if maybe there's some improvements here. Probably not. But if there is an improvement or two, maybe he takes Castro's spot. Because we are starting to get pretty heavy down here. We have 23 players. I don't know if Rafi Velasquez, isn't he supposed to be in AA? Oh yeah, I did that. Okay, that's fine. I accidentally skipped him from high A to AAA. He's supposed to go to AA. And I'm afraid that he'll just get super pissed. I'm going to do it. You know what? I can't be afraid of virtual Ralphie Velasquez. Sorry if that pisses you off, dude. You have to go back. Because 22 is too many here. We're already a little too crowded. I think we need to get rid of some of these vets. Like, they're there to kind of make the team better. And, hey, it's working, 55 and 32. But I don't know that we need to have Kevin Biggio. I know he's a captain. Okay, but like if they cry and complain about that, I think we just have to let it. Because we still have Mooney, who's a captain. Connor Pavloni is a leader. I think we're okay. So we can get rid of Bidge. Basically, it was like if one of Bidge, Castro, or Barrero pops off, then they can stick around all year. And Barrero's been that guy. So Biggio got to go. He's probably not the only one, though. But I just don't know who else. Like, none of these guys are super old. I guess some of these guys are playing that are the older ones. Boy, I just don't know. Like, Gabriel Rodriguez. Like, he's just kind of like taking up space, right? I don't mean to be nasty about it. But when we've got this many guys down there, it's like, he's been fine. He's been above average, but he spent so many years in AAA or AA. I felt I had to get him in AAA, and he's still doing his thing. But as the personality type says here, garden variety ball player. That is a perfect description. At 25, could he become something where he gets a little burn for a second division team? Sure. Will anybody give us a younger prospect for him? Because if not, I think I'm going to cut him. Because I just don't think that that's what we need. But I could see a team having some interest. I guess not. Maybe a regular that could still go to AA? I'll try. Probably not. Oh, 3 guys that have some money tied to them. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, well, fair enough. I mean, if I'm going to cut him, I obviously didn't think his trade value would be through the roof. But I think I'm going to cut him. Like, depth matters, but I try to keep a tight 20 max on the offense or pitching side of any minor league. So I think he's going to be the casualty here of losing his roster. We're not killing him. That, I don't want to make it sound weird, but we're moving him off the roster. All right, so that's at 20 now. It's still pretty full, but better handle on it. All right, let's look at the pitching. We'll look at the starters and sort by innings. And as you can see, things are going pretty well, except for Painter. We talked about him earlier. It's 30 innings. But everyone else is pitching either splendidly to perfectly fine. Like, Cantillo has a 4.01 ERA, 127 whip. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's certainly not bad. And then McKenzie and Bieber, mid to high threes ERAs. Bieber's whip is concerning at 146, but it's not hurting him right now. I do notice that Bieber and McKenzie have pretty high BABIPs. What's our defense looking like by the metrics? Okay, we're 6th in defensive efficiency, 9th in zone rating. And again, just because their BABIPs are high doesn't mean that like the defense is failing them or anything. But there is no single answer that it might be, right? A lot of times people talk about it in a luck capacity and like, oh, he's been unlucky. That's not always the case either. If you're giving up, 110-mile piss rockets every third batter, you deserve your 500 BABIP. But, if you have a normal distribution of hit outcomes, batted ball outcomes, I should say, and it's resulting in, a 400 BABIP, then, yeah, you've probably been unlucky and things will smooth out. Let's look at the relievers. Obviously, with Bradish having 74 innings, that's because he started. He's only recently in the bullpen. But Alomar also has 73 innings, so he's right there, and that's all relief. He has become the super stud stopper again. And at a new level, even. Like, we saw a lot of this in 2025, but his ERA was still 3.67. But it was a 1.16 whip, 21% strikeout minus walk. This year, the ERA has joined. It's a 1.14 whip, 21% strikeout minus walk, but a 2.48 ERA. So more in line with the flashy skills that he's showing. Franco Alomar, he's our stud. And then Raylo, again, talked good bit about him already. Trying to make it work, but another rotten run here, and I don't think come episode 27 that he's going to be on the team. I really don't. There's just too much interest in him to keep him around. Tim Herron's been all right. There's still enough skill here that I like, but 4 ERA, 1.33 whip, but a 20% strikeout minus walk. Needs to fix the home runs. 1.4 is untenable, and if we don't see some improvement, he's in danger of not making a playoff roster. Again, I can't have home run problems. I need to be able to trust you. Cody Funderburk, 38 and 2/3 innings of decent work. Nick Enright, he's been okay. 4.26 ERA, 1.45 whip. His spot on the roster is pretty tenuous right now. As we look to make upgrades at the deadline, you try to shore up some of your weaker spots while also making an impact move, maybe at a spot where you really want to jump up. But at the very least, I think a couple of relievers are going to come in and kick Enright out, and maybe also one of Herron or Funderburk, because Funderburk also has a 1.9 homer 9. So 2 of our 3 lefties have major home run issues, and again, that can't be. That cannot be. Can Misiaszek be the guy? Will his 55 home run allowance allow him to be one of our key lefties? I don't know. I will say this. We don't necessarily have to go out and get guys. We do have guys in the minors that can come up and take Herron and Funderburk's spots. But Funderburk would have to get DFA'd. Herron could go back down, and he may have to. Clase, meanwhile, has been unbelievable. 1.03 ERA, 83 whip. 23 shutdowns, 0 meltdowns. So there you go. That's how the team's looking as we enter the draft here. Let's go to the first-year player draft. And we are sitting at pick 29. Brief overview of the pool. We sort by potential, all players. And you can see there's 8 guys in the blue. Another 8 or 9 kind of eyeballing it in the teal. And then obviously closer to 15 to 20 in green. So decently deep pool. Actually, these are only pitchers. I was going to say, usually the created pools are deeper, but that's because it's not including everyone. You go to the batters, you have only 1 blue batter, but about 8 or 9 teal, and then a decent handful of green. Okay, so it is definitely deeper than I thought, but not quite as deep as a lot of the created ones, and that's okay. They don't all have to, I don't need them all to be a million blue talent players. I don't need to be getting an 80 potential guy in the 6th round, because that's not terribly fun either. You're not really having to work at that point. So this is fine. This is a decent bit of depth. And I will say this too. While the created classes are definitely deeper in terms of potential, the vast majority of the guys do not reach their top potential, just like real life. They're getting overinflated of what their true ceiling could be if everything perfectly pans out, just like we see on draft night in real life, with Harold Reynolds giving Hall of Fame comparisons for every single player. As 28th rounder, man, I don't know. I think his ceiling is probably Cal Ripken Jr., but his floor is definitely Louis Aparicio. I think at the very least, we've got ourselves a Louis Aparicio on our hand. Let's go to Greg Amsinger for the next pick here in the 28th round. It's like, okay, relax. Anywho, I think we're going to go ahead and cap it there. I'll come back, do the draft, get into a point where we're at the deadline, or if I don't do a lot of deadline deals, we will be into August, maybe even into September doing a stretch run. I don't want to but linger too long on a season that doesn't have a lot of storyline in the middle when we can just get to the playoffs. So my guess is that I do the draft, a Raylo trade. I see if any injuries happen here in these 2 weeks after the deadline. If nothing major develops to where we have to go out and get somebody, I get through the deadline, through August, and then see what develops in September, and that's where we come back next episode. This one's also going to be uploaded straight away because I got a little behind, so there's like 4 or 5 day lull between videos. So I'm just going to put this one up, and then the next few episodes will then again be edited by our boy Kev, who I definitely appreciate his work, but sometimes when I take too long, I want to just get one up for y'all, and I don't want to feel like I'm rushing him, so I'll be like, hey, I'll just put this one up, and then you'll get back on track with the next one, because I'm going to do a big recording session today because I actually have some time. And I am fighting the urge to play college football, which I have been playing and enjoying, but I'm ready for a little baseball afternoon here. So thank you all so much for watching. Talk to y'all next episode. Peace.